So as you know, at this stage, Kieran Donaghy has announced his retirement at the age of 35, and we're joined by a man who played with him and also managed him. Eamonn Fitzmaurice, you're there?
Hi Joe,
how you doing? Yeah, very well. Happy retirement. Is that the phrase that people are saying to you all over Kerry?
To me or to Kieran? To me,
well, yeah, to you, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, people have been very complimentary or whatever the last couple of weeks. Anyone I've been bumping into, and I've got a lot of messages and thank you cards and everything over the last couple of weeks. So yeah, there's been plenty of good wishes, in fairness.
Good. Letters of a different variety. It's good to see them. They come in too.
There's been, and in fairness, throughout the time I was in charge, there was certainly more positive interactions rather than negative, I have to say.
So when we talk about Kieran Donaghy, there are the accolades, obviously, and you're talking about 8 Munster titles and 4 All-Irelands and 3 All-Stars and 3 National Leagues, and obviously he was Player of the Year in 06 very famously. 69 appearances, scored 1436 in total in the Championship, and that's an incredibly admirable career. It's an excellent career by any standards, even Kerry standards, and yet it kind of doesn't capture the personality and the impact that he had in the game. He was far more than just those achievements.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was the thing with him, Joe, that he's a special personality. He's a very energetic person. He has a very much can-do attitude, and the way he carries himself, the way he speaks, that's infectious. And I think, you know, as from a playing perspective, I remember in 2006 when he made the transition from midfielder to full forward, and he changed our season that season. That whole energy that he has about him, it infected the group, and it infected some of the older players like myself that, you know, possibly halfway through that championship we were a bit weary, but his energy and his personality kind of reignited a lot of us again, and I think that's probably what's unique and special about him.
Yeah, Mark O'Shea tweeted today, the best teammate I ever had, bar none, which is really high praise. And he says, and he was some crack in the dressing room as well. So maybe give us your memories of 06 when you say he kind of helped transform a slightly weary Kerry. Because you would think, you know, young lad coming in, you're going to keep yourself to yourself in the corner and say nothing.
Yeah, no, he was. That isn't Kieran, to be fair to him. He's, you know, he's a larger-than-life personality. And I suppose, to be fair to him, you know, he would have been on the extended panel in 2004. He was unlucky not to make the panel for the All-Ireland that year, I'd say. I think there was 30 that was named on the day. He was possibly number 31. In 05, he was a sub in that panel. So by 2006, you know, like many of the younger Kerry players with us this summer, they'd been around the block for a couple of years, and they were ready to kind of have a real go off it. And that was him in 06. I remember one of the kind of funnier things from my own point of view was that I always had a good relationship with him, and I remember kind of looking out for him throughout that summer, and I wasn't on the team. I was coming on as a sub kind of myself that summer, and I felt that by helping out some of the younger players I was going to be making possibly a bigger contribution than I would have been on the pitch. And not that I took him under my wing or anything, but I had to give them a bit of advice here and there. And I remember before our All-Ireland press conference, that was back in the days when we would have all gone in, the whole squad would have gone in and met all of the journalists that were there. And basically the journalists had the pick of whoever they wanted to talk to. And I kind of said to Kieran, look, Kieran, there's going to be a lot of journalists here. There's going to be a lot of attention on you because of the way you're playing, and you're the new kid in the block and so on. So if I was you, I'd maybe, you know, the first fella that comes up to you, sidle off into a corner with him and have a good long chat with him and give him his piece, but, you know, kind of keep the head down other than that. So he was saying, yeah, man, good advice and so on. But when we went into the room, then I looked around maybe a couple of minutes later, and there was about 15 journalists around Kieran over in the corner, and he was holding court, and he was perfectly comfortable with the whole situation. So he went on and played very well the following Sunday, so I kind of understood straight away that he had a different way about him, he had a different personality about him, and as I said, he gave us a lot of energy that summer, and he's been doing it since.
I think he loved it. I think he loved doing interviews before big games. I thought him plastered, I think the thought of him plastered all over the Sunday morning papers of a big game was water off a duck's back. If anything, he liked the attention. He
did, and as I said, that was refreshing from us, because we probably, my generation, we were a bit older, we were a bit guarded, and we would have come from the school of thought that, Paddy would have had a big influence on us in that regard, and in many regards, but we would have been maybe a bit more guarded, and we wouldn't have been too anxious to have been that big splash. I remember myself, oftentimes that you saw a player splashed on a Sunday in particular, for some reason that they oftentimes didn't play too well on the day, but to be fair to Kieran, he was able to talk the talk, but he always walked the walk afterwards as well, and that of course was the most important thing.
He talked in his book as well, we had him in talking about it a while back, and it's a fun read, it's a good read, and he talked about around in 06 having a banger of a car at the time, and he makes the impact he makes against Longford, and suddenly he's a fairly well-known figure. He got quickly enough, I think, onto a Billy Naughton and got himself with the car sorted quickly enough as well.
Yeah, he did. That was, we had a good laugh about that at the time. He had an old blue Opel Astra, and it was barely stuck together, and he was working in a sports shop in Tralee, and before too long he was driving a sponsored car, and he was working with Ulster Bank. But to be fair to Kieran, that's his... that's the way he lives his life, but on the pitch and off the pitch, he's a very can-do person, he's a very determined person, and there's a lot of emotional intelligence in particular behind the kind of happy-go-lucky exterior. He's a smart guy, and he knows maybe that wouldn't be as appreciated because of how affable he is, but he knows what he's at, he knows what he wants, and very often he gets what he wants, to be fair to him.
When you graduated to manager then, it must have been incredibly useful to have someone like that in the dressing room who'll cajole certain players, check in with certain players, keep the energy up when the energy drops, all of that kind of stuff. I mean, it must be invaluable when you know he's in there at least creating a bit of a culture for you. Yeah,
it is, and he is going to be a huge loss in that regard. Because he, obviously right up until the end this year, and again it was a mark of him that he had number 14 on his back for his final game as a 35-year-old, having missed the league this year. That's the kind of fella he is, but he drives a lot of things in the background, and I found for the last couple of years when he was away playing the basketball, it suited me perfectly. Even himself, he has said it to me that he appreciated my patience and our patience in that regard, but it actually suited me fine because it was giving him a break from the football, but more importantly, he was coming with an injection of energy, for the championship, which, for us was the be-all and end-all. So he is going to be a big loss in that regard, and I'd be hoping that some of the other lads will step up, because oftentimes when there is a void and a vacuum, other people have to step up. But from my point of view, it was great. It was great to have him there, and great to have him driving that culture, as you said, and challenging us and coming with loads of ideas and everything as well. He was great for that. Yeah, I want to ask you about 2014, which maybe in some ways was a defining year for you both. Here's a quick clip just to remind you of obviously his impact in the final.
Oh, that's terrible. Donaghy! Goal! Second goal for Kerry! Kieran Donaghy in the 52nd minute. Well, there have been so many errors in this match, a catalogue of errors. What a calamity for Paul Durkin. Far too clever with the kick out. Dreadful mistake. Easy goal for Kerry, and for Kieran Donaghy, his 12th in championship football, and the initiative is firmly now in Kingdom hands.
Yeah, look, the transition thought, I think Joe Bradley told us the production line was finished in Kerry. Well, Joe Bradley, what do you think of that?
Like, how can that not get you going?
Yeah, I didn't actually realise the goal was so early. I thought it was later. I think there's a lot in that clip that sums up what Kieran was about. The goal was interesting. I think Dirk Hanning was saying there that it was a terrible error from Paul Durkin, but I'd look at it the other way. I give Kieran a lot of credit because prior to that final, we knew that a lot of the time it would be 4 versus 3 in terms of their short kick-outs, and even more than that at times that it could be 5 versus 3 in terms of our full forward line, and that Kieran was going to be important in attacking their kick-out. And the way we almost framed it was like a keeper in a penalty shootout in a soccer game that he was going to guess every time whether it was left or right, and all it needed was one, and he got the one. He kept going and he kept doing it, and I think Leo McCune had come down behind him looking for the short one, and he gets the right way, and in fairness he finished it brilliantly then. But I think Joe probably drove him a good bit that year from a personal perspective, so that was all good for Kerry. Yeah,
I think the article was up in the Sunroom, which was converted into a gym that year from memory of the book. That's very interesting about playing the goalkeeper role and just almost guessing which way the ball's going to go from the kick out. It's like a penalty and you only need to get one and look what happens. These are the snippets you can give us now that you're retired and don't have to plan for next year, I suppose.
Yeah, that's it. It's, I suppose in one way it'll be nice not to be so guarded, I suppose, and careful about what you're saying, because of course there's aspects of it I'll miss. There's aspects of the training and planning what we're going to do in the big games, and that I'll miss that, of course, but there's other aspects certainly I won't miss.
That clip we play of 2014 makes it sound very straightforward and easy all round, and it was just the culmination for Donaghy of yet another season. But actually it was a terrible season for him because he struggled with injuries and was not getting into the side regularly at all. And there was the Galway game in particular where you didn't give many minutes, the quarter-final I think it must have been the August Bank Holiday weekend, and he's in the horrors really. I mean, he talks about dodging Darragh O'Shea when he sees him at the lift at Croke Park and just wanting to get the hell out of there. I don't even think he showered after that game and spent a long few days I think at home mulling over everything. And I think he had a quote from you where he said, in fairness to Eamonn, he explained it. He said, I may have made a mistake not playing you against Galway, but you have to keep going. We'll need you yet. You're in my plans for down the line. I promise you that. And he says, that kept me going. And we know he did it against Mayo then in the semi-final. Was he genuinely in your plans, or was it an element of, look, he might be in my plans, but I just have to do what I have to say here to keep him happy? Or what was your thinking with Donaghy around that time?
No, he was. He was definitely in my plans and in our plans. I suppose I would never say that to a player, to be honest, Joe, because I think if a player really isn't in your plans, that's not a line you can go with, because pretty quickly players will start to see through that, and you lose that bit of honesty and that link that you have with the players that, for me, was central to what I did, and I was always very honest, and sometimes it was hard being honest for both myself and for the player, but a lot of times it was easier, particularly when you were giving a player something to hang on to. But I noticed Kieran after the game. I noticed him in the warm-up room, and he would never, his body language would never let him down really, but I knew that he was disappointed. I noticed him on the bus that evening that he was disappointed. Again, not in a very outwardly fashion, not in a negative way, not in a way to be, impacting on anyone else. But I know him well, and I knew that he probably would need something. And by the time we came in to training on the Tuesday night, I can still remember as well having that conversation with him. And I knew he appreciated it. But to be fair to him, it's grand. All the talking in the world makes no difference really, but he really did react, and he reacted very well in the training pitch, and he really went after it. And I think afterwards maybe it was painted as a desperate manoeuvre against Mayo throwing him in there, but we knew that he had been playing well in training, and he had been playing a bit of midfield as well as playing inside, which had given him a bit of confidence. I think just getting around the field and his body feeling good again and just handling a bit of ball. But obviously his impact that day was huge. Not only the catch for James O'Donoghue's goal, but he won a great ball before that as well, which he won an important free, and it kind of gave us a bit of momentum back So we had lost big time in that second half. So yeah, I didn't say it for the sake of it. I knew that he was in my plans, but to the extent that he drove himself into our plans and drove us over the line, probably I'm not quite sure if I saw that.
Yeah, I guess you couldn't totally foresee something like that. So, well, actually, one quick last one. I was going to ask you what you think the future holds for him, but you mentioned his handling. I mean, you mentioned the basketball as well. When you think of him, you just think of the soft hands. You think of the intelligent layoffs. You think of how he managed to keep himself fresh. And some, in his latter years, he was sprinting out towards ball. And I mean, there was no point in his career where he was an easy target man for any defender to handle, or Aidan O'Shea.
No, I think, like you said, he never stagnated. He was constantly trying to change it up. And the minute, for a while, let's say if you think of the 2008 final, that the combination of poor ball going into him and the McMahons having a good day, he innovated and he kind of changed his game from there. And by the end, as you said, he was a great option to come out and take a ball short, and particularly if defences were set and play 1-2 to try and slip someone through, he still had that target man element. As for David Clifford's goal against Monaghan, where he was vital for us that day to get that goal right at the end. But yeah, he's that kind of guy. He just he's a natural sportsman, which probably because of his size sometimes isn't appreciated enough how good his skills are. He's the same in basketball. He's a top golfer as well. He's just one of these guys that no matter what sport he takes up, he's going to excel at it because he just has that hand-eye and he has that personality. But obviously for us and for Kerry, when he went in full forward, those hands and his decision-making and then executing the passes to the Gooches of the world, to the likes of James and Paul Ganey later in his later years, was hugely important for us.
Yeah. So to wrap up, I mean, the force of personality, which we've talked about, the football intelligence, the emotional intelligence, which you've given us an insight into there. I mean, he can't be done with Kerry football yet. There's bound to be avenues for him down the line, certainly from a coaching point of view, you would think. Yeah,
they're big time. I've spoken to him already about that. I know that he's interested in that. He's made for it. He, as you said, he's a lot of the characteristics. He's very determined. He's hardworking. He's big energy levels. He's good tactical. He's great tactical awareness. I think possibly from the basketball as well. He's great ideas. He's brimming with ideas, really, and he's definitely going to get involved in coaching and management. And, I mentioned it in his statement today. I can certainly see him being involved with Kerry's team sooner rather than later, and certainly managing Kerry teams down the line as well. I think he ticks a lot of the boxes. And, there's other lads that have retired in the recent past as well, the likes of Declan O'Sullivan, who has gone on and worked with Kerry under-21s. He's managing his own club team in Drummond now. Lads like that are going to get involved as well. But I can see Kieran having a huge impact at a coaching level because of the ideas he has, and because I think that he has his pathways in mind already that he's probably working on, because, as I said, that's the kind of individual that he is, that possibly isn't revealed too often.
Okay, look forward to seeing all that come out in the next few years. Eamonn, listen, much appreciated. Thanks for your time.
No problem, Joe. No problem.